Good evening, everybody. I'm Frank Manfredi. I'm the chairman of the Commission on the City Plan, and I'm calling tonight's meeting to order. It's August 15th, 2023. This is a hybrid meeting, public hearing. Subject on our agenda tonight is the adoption of the plan of conservation and development. Before we do that, we have a couple of items to get through. We do have a quorum of 4 here tonight, so we can do business. And before we move on, I want to take a motion for approval of the minutes of July 18th meeting. Somebody will make a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Kathy Wozniak, second by Mason. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Jim, do you want to abstain?
So the minutes from the July meeting are approved. I want to welcome our members of the public to the meeting tonight. I want to thank Dan Deniska and Deanna Rhodes, City Planner and Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services, for all the work that they've done putting together the draft plan of conservation and development. It's been a huge undertaking by both of them. They've spent numerous hours and meetings over the past year to get this draft put together, and they've done a great job. I want to thank them very much for their time and efforts put into this. And I want to thank the members of other commissions and boards who have, and members of the public who have participated in the meetings to get this plan developed. There were too many to name. You see Richard Morell out here, the chairman of the Wetlands Commission, who's been a faithful attendee all of the meetings regarding this plan of conservation and development, and Crystal Rose and many others who are helped to develop this plan. So I want to thank all those people tonight for all their hard work. I do want to mention that during the course of the last year and the development of this plan of conservation, that two of our members of the commission, City Plan, who have been tremendous in helping bring this forth, have passed away. Michael Green and this was a vice chairman. Michael was a member for many years, and their loss is going to be a tremendous loss to this commission and to the city. So I want to thank them for all their efforts that they put forth in getting this before. So that being said, I would like to have a motion to open the public hearing tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. So the public hearing regarding the anticipated approval of the plan of conservation and development for 2023 is now open, and at this time, yes, Dan will make the presentation for the public.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Deniska, the city planner. I'm going to give you a brief overview. We have 10 or so slides for you tonight. Give an overview of what the POCD is, timeline of development, outline of the committee process and its public outreach that we did, draft plan that's up for adoption tonight, and I'm going to go through quickly. We have a comparison report of the changes that have happened since the plan went on the city's website back in July.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Sure. So Envision 06360, it's also known as the Plan of Conservation and Development. It's a strategic plan for the city city's growth and development plan for the next decade. It documents this current state of the city and provides a guide for its future over the next 10 years. It's a visionary and advisory document, which is potentially guide local actions, provide a framework for decision making for boards, commissions, and city. So the process, it's been a long road to get here. It was initiated in March of 2022 when the POCD committee, which is a subcommittee of the CCP, first met to update the 2013 POCD. The plan development kickoff meeting was held in July of 2022. We held an online and paper community survey of September through the end of December of 2022. We hired a consultant, SLR, and they helped us develop 2 data decks, 1 and 2. They were developed in fall 2022. We also held key partner meetings that centered around 4 topics with various community stakeholders, city departments, and organizations that we work with on a day-to-day basis. We identified community trends for fall and winter of 2022 into early 23. We had a draft vision statement that we brought to the committee into the CCP in April of this year. We then developed draft goals and objectives based on our public input and key stakeholder meetings. That was in May of this year. The draft was put out in June of 2023. City Clerk's website, refer it to the Council of Governments, City Council, and then also to state DEP and on our departmental website in July. The legal notices for tonight's meeting were published today on August 4th, 11th. And here we are tonight, for the public hearing for adoption. The committee, I won't read everyone on the committee, but it's a large committee. We get help from many members that are in the audience tonight and other departments, divisions, community partners, and boards and commissions.
So one thing that I forgot in opening, I want to welcome Jim Porto as a new member of the Commission on the City Command, who's here tonight. We do have another new member, Jason Porter, who is not here. I just wanted to make that announcement before we got any further. And I forgot anyone.
So this is just a reminding you, there was extensive community survey, public outreach, and went to public events, the table. We had surveys in English and Spanish, online, paper. We had paper surveys, we would put them into online form tab results. We had over 225 responses. And that kind of guided how we set about developing those objectives. As I mentioned earlier, we had 4 separate meetings, key partners that centered around open space, recreation, environment, transportation, facilities, that's city facilities, things, housing, land use, and economic development, retail districts, commercial corridors. So the meat of the meeting tonight, I mentioned these dates earlier. We have 230 total changes that were made to the plan that went out for public review for July 11th. Quickly go through a PDF of all those changes. A great deal of them are inserting pictures, infographics that were not in the draft, developed in the weeks afterwards. And seems like there's a lot of changes, and some of them are, this is a picture of Howard T. Brown Park, this is a picture of recreation fields. There are a few larger changes that were text changes or insertions. We'll talk about those and the addition of maps. There's a lot of the changes are also just formatting. So don't be dismayed that I'm going to go through 230. So I'm going to stop this share and switch to that. So starting with the front cover, It's not showing. There we go. Changes as we change the color. Was approved before. The draft date is August 7th. That's and the version 2.0 that's up for adoption tonight. We added an acknowledgements page that lists members of the Commission on the City Plan, boards, everyone that's on the POCD committee. We will have another change after tonight that will be a letter from Frank regarding the adoption of the plan. The table of contents has changed. Things around, change page numbers. Like I said before, here we have this is the names of Park. Here is where we did add some text. It talks about the community workshops. They occurred after the draft plan was put out for public review. So we held 3 sessions. One was at the senior center. We had 2 back-to-back sessions at Boundary 66 for people to come out, comment on the draft goals, strategies, and actions. We named the appendices. They didn't have letters before. We had some changes to the history of Norwich. We had some inserted text here and some changes, some other substantive change. Infographics were placed in. Figures were numbered, given names and references. We added maps. We had an existing land use map for the first time. The city is parcel by parcel map that is not necessarily in zoning, it's what's actually on that parcel. So maybe zoning residential, but it's had that before. And here's the zoning map next to it. Figure changes and pictures. We had these 2 maps, the water and sewer service area maps from the view. Community facilities map. Showing changes in pictures. Neighborhoods map. And a lot of the things within the goals, the objectives, there's a lot of changes just okay. So before they make that, I guess, we're now there. Is L1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. This is at the suggestion of our consultant. We added some text on housing. That's a new section in there. So related goals and action items. Adding. Page used to say if more rich or which now just says that vision voices recent top of the page. We had the change in the super plant project that estimated cost went up to $200 million, so that was a number change here, and then we have minor text changes from the view. We added this map, this is the Envision 6260 map, which is what the plan is working towards, so we have different corridors highlighted on here and map areas. The text, it explains what each one is, so there's framework and quality of life. It is a residential focus or a business focus, and we have different prescriptions for different neighborhoods, so we have innovate, new, equitable. And it explains everything in here. This is the future plan for 10 years down the road. And we'll be adding the two data decks that I mentioned earlier, was sliding to Appendix A here. The results from the survey will be in Appendix B. We have the implementation table, which was not in the original draft, worked on this since then. And this lists all of the entities that are involved, who's the who plays a supporting role, and then the timeline, the action items. So this is really how the plan is put into place, how things will happen over the next 10 years. We have ongoing short-term, medium-term, and long-term, so the first 3 years, 10 years, and the last 3. The sources page.
That seemed like more than 230 did.
Well, it was 238 changes. 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, we can go over it.
Yeah, do you want to make any comments at this time?
Thank you, Dan, for going over all those changes. I'm just gonna reiterate what Dan said. Very few substantive changes in the text. I think the maps are important, and that was really the beef of what we were working on, and then the implementation table. Video on the office suggested, Dan and I worked on suggesting who we thought should be the lead, and then sent that out to all the committee members so that they could participate and say, yes, we think we're the leader, or no, we're really not, it should be somebody else. So it was really a collaborative effort to determine who's in charge of each of these tasks. And then setting those ongoing goals that we're still working on, and then really trying to come up with it after this is done, come up with a document with what short-term things are, and we'll focus on those the first 3 years. And so we really want to not jump around so much, we can spend our efforts on what those timeframes are. I think the plan is very comprehensive. Again, we took in some comments after it was posted on the website, so that they were from like the Historical Society on the history of Norwich. We had taken that history of Norwich from the website and needed some tweaking. So it's nothing that it looks longer than what it is, but it's really about the history of just kind of getting that correct. Language wise. I think Dan's done a terrific job on it. We had a lot of help with the maps, and I'm expecting Dan, but help with any of you as well. Maybe those maps, sewer and water. If you have some comments back from the state, and I can go over those, but I think maybe after it, because really be have a public speaking.
Sure. Yeah. One more question I did want to raise. We've had here, we set. So at this time, we'll open the public hearing up to public comment. So if you would like to make a comment regarding the draft proposal, please come up to the front, state your name and address. I think we're going to limit comments to 3 minutes.
That's fine. Right now, we have 3 people signed up, so I'm just gonna mention their names so you know your order. It doesn't mean after that can come up again, but Sam Browning, Joanne Philbrick, and Linda Theodore are the 3 people in that order that have signed up.
Okay.
And if you would also spell your name when you're up here on the record for our clerk. Thank you.
Sam, you want to come on? 3 minutes of the program, so I'm just not sure how many people we would have had coming in, so I don't want to go on.
Fair enough, I will be succinct. The first question I have is, At this late date, if I suggested a change in a small section of text, would you even consider it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I did not want to present and then at the end of the 3 minutes be told, well, it's been decided. I also wanted to just pass something up to you just to take a look at. It's part of the thought experiment. It's 1 page, if I may.
Sure.
How many copies?
We got 4 members of the commission here, plus Dan.
Yep.
Yeah, so 6 would be good.
Okay. Thank you. And you're gonna go over this, so I don't have to read it?
Yes. Yeah, I will not read this into the record. I'm just gonna hand it over. This concerns the long-term vision for Dodge Stadium. And the reason this is like a potential alternative, and the reason I'm bringing this in is much of the issues involving looking at the feasibility of Dodge Stadium have been previously done, but they've been kind of memory hold over the years, not because of any nefarious reason, but people don't remember certain crucial turning points. For example, back in 2019, I wrote a report which can be still found in the minutes of the Stadium Authority, talking about, and this was pre-COVID, about how the ballpark was losing money. And there was not a easy or readily available solution to that. Then additionally, as late as May of 2023, the issue was revisited by Josh Pothier, who's the comptroller, and he looked at the various projected expenditures, and I quote, the Stadium Authority is losing money because the $22,500 in rent is not sufficient to pay for the stadium's operating expenses, which are mainly the reimbursed utilities and building maintenance costs. The Sea Unicorns reimbursed the city for the first $50,000 of utilities costs plus 50% of utility costs over 50,000. Utilities have usually been between 90,000 and 110,000 per year for the stadium, excluding 2020, and will likely rise to 120,000 or more going forward. Last paragraph. I prepared the blind projection of revenues and expenses for calendar years 2023 through 2025. I project net cash losses before operating transfers of 55,000 to 60,000 annually. In the scenario below, there are transfers from the general fund of 100,000, 135,000, and 166,000 in calendar years 2023, 2024, and 2025, respectively, in order to eliminate the deficit. Note, not in the letter, but there's currently an existing deficit for the park. If the Sea Unicorns were to lease the stadium with similar terms as the current contract beyond 2025, the general fund would need to subsidize the Stadium Authority operations with annual transfers of 60,000 or more. And the city would likely need to make more investments in the facility through the capital budget and or future bond ordinances. These figures do not include existing payment of bonds for repairs to the stadium that has already happened. The reason why this is relevant is because the commission on the city plan, this plan here is very influential. For the next 10 years, you're going to pick it up, look at it, and say, this is where we want to go with our city. Dodge Stadium opened as a ballpark in 1995. It had a AA Yankee affiliate, a single A Giants affiliate, a single A short season Tigers affiliate, and now a future league scheme where the people participating are unpaid. The first 2 teams moved to more profitable ventures. For example, the Giants affiliate moved to Richmond, Virginia, which is 5 times the population of Norwich. The Tigers were shut down by Major League Baseball, as unfair as it may be, along with about 40 other small market teams which were on the edge of financial viability. The city of Norwich has been losing money while renting the stadium to both the Tigers and Sea Unicorns. Other alternate uses such as outdoor concerts have not solved this problem. To recruit another minor league team, you're gonna have to bond millions of dollars. Complete rebuild of the light system. Complete rebuild of both clubhouses. New weight room. The list goes on and on. That's what you would need to do to be competitive, what we would need to do to be competitive with other minor league teams. And ultimately, the problem is Norwich is a town of 40,000 surrounded by towns of 5,000. We don't have the demographic basis that we do, say, in Hartford, Bridgeport. So the city, ultimately, you are not going to be able to recruit your way out of this problem. I say that Dodge Stadium sits on 47 acres of flat property in the business industrial park with present existing access to roads and utilities. They don't have to be built. They're there, they exist. It could be easily redeveloped to increase the grand list in Norwich. I know that there is tremendous pressure to do Business Park North. And the rationale for those developing 184 acres is simple. We need more tax revenue. My response is, okay, argue that park on its own merits or demerits separately, but we got almost 50 acres that could be developed. And we don't have to put in a new road, and we don't have to do utilities, and permitting is probably pretty easy. So when I saw the language on page 33, which wanted to do a complete new assessment, study the potential financial implications. All you need to do is go to Josh Pothier and ask him, with the city manager, Josh, can you create a better financial perspective of where we've been in the last 10 to 20 years and where we're going over more time? And the short answer is, it doesn't look like you can run a stadium to make money there. At which point, how much loss you have to take if we're about to incur a big loss because we're about to have to bond money to do a total repair of the stadium because it's nearly 30 years old. No one's fault, but buildings age. So in conclusion, I just thought that this was very optimistic language, page 33, very optimistic language. And before you even get out of there, the Commission on the City Plan could consider just having it go back to commercial land. It's a business park. And the neighbors would love it for one reason, if none others. No more fireworks on a weekly basis during the summer. I know I love fireworks, but I can hear them and I'm 4 miles away. So thank you for listening to me. And even if you consider it for 30 seconds, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Somebody else who wanted to speak?
Joanne Philbrick is the next person.
Good evening, Joanne Philbrick, Norwich Town. I'd like to start by saying thank you to Deanna and Dan for the monumental task that you and your staff have undertaken. Not only is it a monumental task, it oftentimes is a thankless task. I've been around long enough to know that you can't please all the people all the time. So my comments this evening will not be as educated and articulate as Mr. Browning's. However, I do have very strong opinions, as you all are aware of, and I feel it is not only my right, but my responsibility to bring those concerns forward to you. Just a little back story. I have been here 20 years. I moved here from Martha's Vineyard. If you've ever been to the vineyard, you know, in no way, shape, or form does it resemble the city of Norwich. I am fortunate that I live in a beautiful historic home. I'm in Norwich Town Green. And that's about all I can say positive about Norwich. As you drove here tonight, you came down Union Street. If you cannot or will not see the poverty, the degradation, and the devastation of this city, then quite frankly, I don't believe that you should be sitting in the seats that you're sitting in. We have a problem here. We have a major problem here. When I arrived 20 years ago, I became involved in the downtown revitalization program that was Mayor Nystrom's brainchild. There was a group of us, Andy Depka, Karen Neely, and myself, among others, who spent our own money and our own time going door to door to encourage this project. The vanilla boxes, you know. When I was a child, even when I was a grown woman, I'm 80, a guardrail was something on the side of the road. A silo was something on a farm. Now we have this whole new language that people in my age group don't understand. But having said that, that project never got off the ground. There were little and oops, but it never came to fruition. The same empty buildings are on Main Street. The same falling down derelict buildings are downtown. The same traffic patterns exist. Judge Judy makes $14 million a year insulting people. I do it for free. So I want to get back on track. At Monday night's council meeting, I believe there will be a public hearing on transferring yet another $16,000 from ARPA funds to Envision 360. I need someone to explain to me. We pay the mayor, whose sole duty is to promote economic development. We pay money to NCDC. NCDC receives money from NPU. So why do we need another total of $35,000 to put into this pot? I'm a results-based person. If my financial advisor continues to lose money, I will change my financial advisor. What is the dream? This is a vision. This is a plan. But who is the leader that's going to institute it and make sure that all the work that you have done comes to fruition? I admit that I'm not good on the computer, but I'm reasonably intelligent. I tried my damnedest today to go on the city website and familiarize myself with this. I couldn't get from A to B. The website is not user-friendly, and most people will throw up their hands in exasperation. And that's probably part of the reason why there is such limited involvement here tonight. You did a survey, another survey, from September to December of 2022. According to your website, you had 227 respondents. This was a city of almost 40,000 people. If you think 227 respondents in both English and Spanish is good, again, I say to you, you need a reality check. 227 is nothing. I tried to find the appendices. I'm not even familiar with that word. There were none on the website. So I couldn't look at your plan of action, what your time frame is. All I know is that, and it angers and it also saddens me to say this. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die here. And I don't want to die here. I'm entitled to a quality of life. The quality of life that the people who built my home in 1734 dedicated to the city of Norwich. I am entitled to a quality of life that my Irish ancestors from the 1800s worked their fingers to the bone to build a life in Norwich. You can have all your cultural diversity, happy crap nonsense. But when you go downtown and you see the filth and the people lying in the street and the drug addicts, if that's what you want, fine, you can have it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I deserve better than that. We deserve better than that. And I sat on the city council. I thought I could make a difference, and I learned pretty darn quick that you can't make a difference here. I like to say that the singers may change, but the song remains the same. Nothing ever happens here. The hotel in Yantic was supposed to be done by December of this year. Now it's being moved out. You've got the project on Main Street. You've got the Reed and Hughes. Good God, none of you will be alive by the time the Reed and Hughes is completed. Let's be honest. How do we move forward? How? Deanna gives me a lot of her time. She lets me vent to her. Thank you, Deanna. She smiles. She does her job as a public servant, which all of you are, and all of them are, which sometimes they need a reminder. Yes, I'm a pain in the ass. I understand that. But I want for me, for my neighbors, a quality of life. And the needle here has not moved in the positive direction. In fact, the needle has moved in the other direction, no pun intended. Because you can go anywhere downtown. You can go to Mohegan Park. You can go to the Norwich Town Green, and you will find needles. If that's what you want, fine. But it's not what I want, and I will continue to speak out and rally, hopefully, the troops to demand a better quality of life for all, and I underline that word, all members of this city. Those who have been here for 60 years, 80 years, or 5 years. So I am here to help you in any way that I can, with the caveat of I will not, as I was told one time by a person who will go unnamed, to sit in your chair like a good little girl and keep your mouth shut. Seriously? You don't say that to me. So I ask you, how can I help you? Regan is here. She's much more demure than I am, but our neighborhood, our beautiful historic neighborhood, is undergoing a metamorphosis. All the crap that's going on down here is moving to Norwich Town. I'm sure you're aware of the dead body decayed for months on end in the abandoned buildings where the new Burger King is going to be. Remember that fiasco? Remember how that was going to save us? The boarded up Bank of America, a car wash on every friggin' corner in the city of Norwich. Everybody here must have the cleanest car. So my question to you is, or my plea to you is, help me to help you. Help me so that the last years of my life are quality years, so that I can sit in my front yard and enjoy what I have worked all my life for. Help me to help you. Thank you. And lastly, I will say thank you to Deanna, thank you to you. But I'll be curious to see if any of the other of you even reach out to me, because that seems to be the status quo in Norwich, that if we ignore them, they'll go away. Thank you.
Thank you. And Theodora.
Linda Theodoru, spelled Theodoru. I live at 37 Tapalacum Road in Norwich. As I read through this draft document, I became more and more excited as I recognized the many planned actions that I had thought long needed to be done. Included on that list are the complete streets policy and the extension of Shoreline East to Norwich. I live in Ockham and use my e-bike as my primary form of transportation. From Ockham, I am able to get to most sections of Norwich in under half an hour. I biked here. Norwich streets could definitely use bike lanes or at least markings showing drivers that they must share the roads with bikes. Education on both sides about the laws and what bike turn signals look like would be helpful. Before I started biking, my car was in the shop once for a couple of weeks, and I decided to try using the Seat Bus, which goes right by my house. I was pleasantly surprised how nice the buses are. They are definitely up to the standard that Europe uses. However, the bus only comes to Ockham once every 2 hours. This means that a quick trip to the library takes a minimum of 4 hours, and I just don't see how anyone could use it to commute to work. Increasing public transportation and biking would mean that some people could give up their cars, not having to support the car, payments, taxes, insurance, and upkeep, would mean those residents would have more money to pay for housing and less parking would be needed. I really hope that the actions this document espouses for the future of Norwich actually happen. If they do, Norwich will become a place that families want to move to and never leave. It will enter the 21st century. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I had to sign up, I was a couple minutes late.
That's okay.
Frederick Browning, 671 Scotland Road. Okay, so my focus is a little different than all my brothers. I was comparing this morning the plan from 2013 to today. I think it's a valid comparison in terms of, okay, where were we 10 years ago? Where we moved? And I'm looking through like the table of contents from 10 years ago, and it talks about growing strategically, promoting livability, we're gonna get back to that in a second, leveraging assets and implementing plans. And then I look at the current index, and it's Norwich Today, Vision, Live Norwich, Play Norwich, Grow Norwich. Okay, I don't care what you call it. My specific issue tonight is livability. That's what I'm concerned about. And livability can be measured a number of different ways. Sorry if I'm not talking to the microphone. One of the key things is quality of life that the 2013 report discussed ad nauseum, page after page, was balancing conservation and development. And that is a critical issue for Norwich in the next 10 years. And quite frankly, I wish that your current plan addressed that more directly. Yes, I know, I can look at little sections like R1 in our resource goal 2. But that's going to be a critical issue as you folks try to plan Business Park North, which is in an area which 2013 designated as basically a rural area with higher conservation focus. So 10 years ago, the people passed it, they said areas which are not developed should have a higher conservation focus. Today, with Business Park North, the new plan is suggesting we develop major, have large scale developments which sprawl out into formerly rural areas. That is not a minor issue, that is a major issue. That is a major difference between the 2013 and 2023 plan. Also, as of a week ago, I'm not saying a second ago, but as of a week ago, the state had still designated in its land resource plans the areas west of Canterbury Turnpike as agricultural areas and land preservation areas. So therefore, the new plan would be out of alignment. Okay, as of 10 years ago, it was in perfect alignment with the state plans. So what to do? Well, I would suggest that you folks add more language in terms of conservation and balancing economic development with sustainability. And sustainability being the whole idea of, first of all, preserving family farms in the area and farming land and open space. And that's going to be critical. And then obviously there's a whole bunch of other environmental issues which go along with that. But I would just like to finish with saying this. Your 2013 plan had major conservation elements in it. Page after page of conservation elements. I'm down to, where did that go other than our, sorry, I'm going to refer to the term, RI1, RI2. That's your current plan. Okay, that is where I find the plan deficient. It's not the economic planning or the building up neighborhoods. It's the long-term conservation of key undeveloped areas. And the last thing that we really have to consider is an open space commission in this town. But as development increases, you're going to be in more and more conflict with various neighborhoods. Okay, it would behoove you folks to come up with an open space commission. Mentioning it does not make it happen. There are mentions of that in 2013. We currently have a open space commission in this town.
We actually do, the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Conservation Commission acts as both here and then.
Okay. And that should be publicized and announced, because right now, most of us have no idea that it serves both of those functions. And if you don't know, is that terribly effective? So in conclusion, the area that I feel this plan should be supplemented on is basically conservation, open space, and that's where it should be built up. I have no issues with some of the economic discussions or ideas in it, but I think you're going to have to keep a balance, because we come back to quality of life and desirability. If this town does not have quality of life and desirability, you're not going to get new people moving into this town, and property values will fall. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to speak tonight? We will be the opportunity. Raise your hand, Kevin. No.
I have some testimony to read in.
Okay.
I'll just talk here. So I'm not gonna read because Dan's gonna go through a few of the things on the screen, DEP's response and SCOGS, which is the Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments, required to do reviews, just do referrals to them, and they responded. But I did receive some public comments from members of the public who could not be here tonight, so I just want to read those into the record. First one is from William Kenny, 17 Lincoln Avenue, Norwich, Connecticut. This came by email this afternoon at 2:46 p.m. Dear Director Rhodes and City Planner Deniska, prior commitments keep me from attending and participating in the public hearing tonight on the draft plan of conservation and development. But I wanted to go on record more or less to say thank you for the efforts for all who contributed and developed the document. I have the previous three, that's how long I've lived here, and that's how I got smarter on the times and trials of the Rose of New England. The moment where the bullet meets the bone is right now, as each and every department and citizen volunteer advisory agency should strive to implement its recommendations and conclusions, rather than, as we have in the past, in my opinion, quietly stick to the plan high on its bookshelf and every other month or so dust around it. The plan is a living document and must be regarded as an essential and ready reference for any and all discussions and planning sessions, no matter the agency or panel. Plan should be a roadmap deployed as an integral tool in the kit we all use to continue to work on behalf of our city. Its goals and mission statement should be a prism through which we view all proposals offered and presented in Norwich, and the scale by which we measure their value, not just to the proponent, but to all of us who live and work here. I believe the plan of conservation development is precisely what we need at this moment,
but only if everyone involved in making Norwich a better place, formally and informally, understand that each of us is responsible for its implementation. We live on so many islands, or what's the term we now use, bubble? It seems to me, with too little effort expended and invested in building bridges and necessary connections between and among the various activities, agencies, and departments within and across the city. The plan is the sheet music, and we need to get better at singing and harmonizing. Many years ago, someone described Norwich to me as a 7 villages in search of a city. Maybe that's what's at the heart of the matter as to why we seem to fall in love with getting stuck in second gear and staying there. We're afraid to dare, to dream, or to do. The plan of conservation and development allows us to do all of that. But if we but have the courage to commit to supporting it. To do less than that is to disrespect and insult the efforts of so many who have worked with you on creating it. Thank you again for your efforts on our behalf, even if we're not always as appreciative as we should be. Sincerely yours, William Kenny. And then we have one more. This one came in this afternoon at 1:19 p.m. from Bill Champagne. Deanna, Dan, and Regan, I have not been involved in the plan of conservation and development this time around, and I just looked at the plan yesterday for the first time. Also, as a preface, I know that I can be biased and narrow focused, so forgive my bias, not completely thought out thoughts. I remember attending a planning session moderated by the late Jason Vincent, Planometrics at that time, discussing the upcoming now current plan of conservation and development. He asked what people thought was special in Norwich, and as he neared the end, after having written down NFA, Mohegan Park, Senior Center, etc., I said I thought that Indian Leap was a significant landmark and one that deserved special attention. He got excited as we talked after the meeting and then later joined our steering committee and started serious momentum for the project. Look where that project is now. So I think if one doesn't speak up, one's ideas are not going to be heard. I can't be there this evening, so I thought I would send along this email. Page 28. There are architectural and historical inventories, surveys of a number of Norwich neighborhoods. SHPO would probably fund continued inventories for the neighborhoods which haven't been surveyed yet. Either the city or the Historical Society should finish inventorying the rest of the neighborhoods. Page 32. Create safe and complete sidewalks from Leffingwell Inn to the Norwich Town Green, and create a safe crossing between the Leffingwell Inn and Washington Street. As heritage development continues to grow and more people take advantage of historic Norwich Town, safety should be a priority. Page 36, I believe that Norwich's history and heritage are one of its strong calling cards. I think emphasizing the heritage triangle between Uncas Leaf, Slater Memorial Museum, and the historic Norwich Town would be good for both economic development and quality of life. Page 39, heritage development could be and should be a major part of economic development in Norwich. It's an untapped resource. Page 49, I think it would be helpful to have an image of the heritage triangle on the map. Page 43, I don't believe solar is encouraged in Norwich as much as it is in other towns and cities. It's getting less expensive and therefore more profitable. And it is better for the environment than using fossil fuels and should be encouraged. Thank you for listening, Bill Champagne.
Thanks, Deanna. Being said, say it again, anybody else who want to make comments before we close the public hearing?
We don't want you to close the public hearing yet because Dan has some things to
Right.
put into the record, so we can talk about it.
So, Stan, go ahead.
So I'm gonna ask to waive the reading of this response from the Council of Governments. Based on review of the proposed POCD, invited to be consistent with regional, state, and conservation development. We also have a response today from DEEP, which has 4 main comments. That will also ask to waive the reading, but we can press for what they make here. Before we submit to the state. And I have closed public hearing. The current P O C D expires on August 15th, 2 days from now. The effective date of this plan will be set for September 15th of this year. At that point, it will be any of the sources webpage and file with the speaker's office. And then we will send the plan to the Secretary of Policy Management. And we have a exhibit list as well.
Yeah, and the exhibit list is very simplified. It's the documents that we received in the timeframes. I did add number 14 tonight, which is the Dodge Stadium information provided by Sam Browning to our exhibits.
We'll update this. Right.
So does somebody want to make a motion to waive the reading of the orders and the books? Make a motion to waive. You can look at it. So we got a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the waiving of reading of these? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Oh, yeah, oh, I'm just looking at the list. Yes.
So that's motion is carried, so we can waive the reading of those items. Is there anything else before we close the public hearing?
I would just say that, you know, you've heard some comments from the public. Dan and I are, you know, we have looked at the comments from DEP. We do believe that we can address those with just a few changes of the wording that should be sufficient to meet their request. They did talk previously about a map that we had in our previous POCD, which I can be honest with you, we have never referred to at all. It just shows the wetlands. It shows where the it shows topography, it shows wetlands, and so sleeps over 25%. It shows wetlands, what else? Oh, areas of natural diversity. And these are all things that we already have available on our GIS. So when we look, we have a proposal, we are constantly looking there. So we don't necessarily need to look at this map in the POCD, because we can look at the property right on our GIS. So it was a recommendation that we can kind of look at that map if we wanted to consider it, putting it in.
But that hasn't changed anyway. Right?
It hasn't changed.
So, I mean, I really didn't have a problem with putting the whole thing in. Doesn't matter.
So that would be up to the commission if they wanted us to put it in. I don't know if there's I guess we could find a place to put it in. We definitely could. If you'd like us to, I'm just telling you that we have that availability. We look at our GIS all the time for proposals. We don't necessarily go to the POCD.
No.
But the other things beyond that are all very simple, just a few little words in the text that we can change to address those DEP comments. SCOG had not really any comments for us. They just basically told us it was in concert with those plans, the regional state plans. We've heard comments from Phil Champagne, you've heard comments from other people in the public that were here tonight, Sam Browning. That would be up to the commission to advise us if you want any wording changes in the regular, any direction of how we can address those. Otherwise, what we would ask you, you can have your discussion when you close the public hearing. We can only provide you guidance as far as not wording at that point if you close the hearing, but we can provide you like specific direction on something. I would say that, you know, you can, you know, if you want to listen, you know, think about what was said tonight and add anything and let us know. We just need some guidance if we want for those wordings to be, so we can be specific on the things addressed tonight.
So can we adopt the plan as it's proposed and then make amendments to it based on the comments tonight?
You would no, because you can, but what you can do is you would make a motion to approve with the following amendments, and we would amend those now. If you don't want to make changes later, you can, but the process is the same. So if you want to amend your POCD 2 months down the road, we kind of have to go through this whole process all over again and send it to the state and wait all those days. So we would rather we would ask that you adopt the draft plan, which was dated August 7th, which has all those
changes, those little tweaks here and there, and Regan Minor suggestions for the history of Norwich and those things. All in here, Dan went over that with anything else that you might want us to add in. So that's what the motion would be. We need to know what we want us to add in.
Well, for example, you were saying that, the DEP suggestions could be added.
Yeah.
So how do we do that tonight?
I would,
Need specific language?
I think that you could tell us in that particular case, they're kind of telling us kind of what they want, is that we address the comments in the DEP's memos, to incorporate those in the plan. I think that that's fair enough on that, because they're pretty
So
specific.
we don't need the specific.
On that one, but these other things that were brought up tonight, if you wanted to talk about any of those, you probably should look at the sections and tell us what you want changed or anything. So, and then when whoever makes a motion needs to set the effective date of September 15th as well.
We just discussed it first.
All right, we do that. We do that after
I think you can keep the hearing open right now, because you can talk to Dan and I.
Yeah.
Okay, so discussions on, you have comments?
Well, I do, I'm listening to everybody, and, I think. I do agree with Mr. Browning when he said that the plan was kind of weak on the conservation part of it. But did I read in here that we open space plan?
Yes,
So that is part of it.
yes.
So, but if we could, and I think this would be a really good thing for the city, is to create a separate conservation commission, and that can be a recommendation. And I will tell you that you will definitely get some changes in it, because you'll have a commission that is not dealing with applications, they're gonna be dealing with conservation commission. And they have in that, we have the right to like, maintain some of all of our open space. It's not a, you know what it is. So I think that would be a really good thing for the city.
And that would be a short-term goal too. If you want to.
Yeah, short-term goal, right? So I think that would be good.
Okay.
And then we definitely will see more conservation in the conservation.
So I'm gonna say that that would be a recommendation to establish a separate conservation commission as a short-term goal. Is that fair?
Is that good?
Right, after that. Okay, anything
And we
else?
will fit it into one of these categories.
Yeah, well, I think you had, like I said, you had the open space thing
Yeah.
over here, so maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
somewhere, you'll have to figure out where. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I liked Bill Champagne's comment about the history, or history of the economic development, which I think that should be noted in that. Our history is, people come to Norwich because of our history. So we could embellish that a little bit. And I do like. I do like his comment about connecting, having better sidewalks and connecting. But I think that is part of this.
It is,
complete street.
in the plan, it talks about looking at all the streets and going for
Right.
grants to do that. It doesn't specifically say Norwich Town in there, but I also called Bill today and kind of started to go over these, and then it's kind of an office thing happened that I had to hang up, but we talked about that, and I told him in the plan, it talks about looking at all the sidewalks in the city. and going for
Yeah,
grant
really,
funding.
really need to make more estimating from these cities.
So, but that's already as a goal.
It's kind of,
It's-
It's like,
So talking about the
Yeah,
tourism part, Dan, do you want to see if there's anything specifically that we could beef up in the tourism part with regarding Norwich Town and our history?
well, our historic resources as an economic development. Component rather than just our safety preserving history, we need to. And use that as an asset for economic development.
I think there's something, I just want to, the end is there, here it is, so.
we talk about supporting the arts.
Yeah. Yeah, but it goes beyond tourism, I think it goes into. People want to live here because they have some beautiful historic homes, people want to come to see it. people want to invest here because of its historic homes.
Do you feel, Dan, what do you do, just so we can guide some guidance, so if we said something like, uh. Reference historic resources and economic development component and driver or something like that.
Yeah.
And we need to find where do you think the most appropriate, Dan, would that be at this point? So we can guide
Probably here. Like,
in place.
And you also said something about inventory.
Yes,
Now, do we have most of the historic areas?
no, and it's actually in here about getting.
Right here at the bottom.
Okay,
And I went over that with Bill as well.
okay.
Culture and historically.
I did read this, but I don't, I didn't.
No, but I read that to him and said that we're already.
And,
Oh, Kathy, for 1 second, under the historic resources, economic development component and driver, I'm gonna say that's an ongoing goal.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, yep, okay, now, Mr. Browning's
Scott Stadium.
that stadium, I mean, I don't really know, I mean, I did read what you had in here,
So what,
but I don't know.
I think what it basically says, again, it's kind of, we have to do a condition assessment, it's not only saying a condition, it's
Yeah.
looking at adaptive reuse of that.
Yeah.
And potential
Oh,
future
yeah,
uses.
Study heat the stadium or study to remove the stadium. It's not trying to state something that's unsustainable.
Yeah, I thought that's what you said, and I just wanted to.
I think it's encapsulated, but then again, that's up to the commission to decide if you feel that, that it needs any more tweaking. But we've heard what Sam has said before, that's one of the reasons it's written in here that way, is, could it be used, is there real viable uses there for baseball and sports, or does it really need to be something completely different, and so, yeah.
Reuse
Yeah.
the different potential future uses. for the stadium.
It's- that was everything that was said. It's kind of pretty common.
I'm just gonna just add a couple, just hearing what you're saying, so I can add on to this. So what we do in the strategy, in the implementation is we have, if it's short or moderate or short term or long term, and then who the lead is. So based on what you're saying, recommend establishing a separate conservation commission. I'm putting the city council as the lead on that. And then there could be other support, we can figure out with the other
Yeah,
support.
I need to have someone support that.
So
Need to be
who would you
more-
like as the support of the planning staff or?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
I just think, I'm going to give just a little background, we did that in first statement, I'm going to tell you that our conservation commission has done some really great things. And it was said very, very good.
And on the second one, which is the historic resources and economic development component and driver is being ongoing. The leader on that, do you want the Norwich Historical Society to be the leader on that, or who do you feel the leader is?
Well, I think their partner.
Yeah.
But I would like to bring that more into. some-
So NCDC and the mayor, because they're there, and then the partner would be in Norwich Historical Society. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, it's not up to me. I mean,
no,
it's the
but
whole
I'm
commission.
trying to, because it's, when you make one change, it sort of is a ripple effect throughout the plan.
Right.
There's no motion.
No, but I'm just making sure that we capture it before you make that motion.
All right, and then I just had. And I know I haven't been really that involved, so that's why.
Go ahead, because we might have already changed those. too.
No, I don't think so, but since. Minor.
Okay,
So under expand downtown park opportunities, the state funding for maintenance and improvement for city owned parking lots. Then I would just have, this is one of my. So that we are more sensitive to this character in our resources. Just, I mean, they have been built.
so what number is that? What page is that?
That's, well, on mine, it's page 37. So it's under G 1.4.
1.4. So in what bullet, in the bullet point was that?
Seek funding. is-
Seek funding, okay, so you want to add at the end of that sentence to say that.
So that they are more sensitive to the historic character. But it really doesn't agree.
Okay, let me read that back so that they are more sensitive to the historic nature of downtown.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, the second goal.
Yep, and then the other thing that I would just like to do is
Yep.
And I'm so glad we recommended we start the facade program. Oh my God, that needs to be done. Facade program. Now, would that be still be funded, community development?
So it says restart the downtown facade program through Norwich Community Development Corporation, expanding the boundaries of the current program, to all nodes and targeted corridors.
But it was funded, used to be funded through,
Yes, it was a bond or something, wasn't it?
no, it was, no.
Well, some of it could be to the, for the CDBG.
Well, I think that's really,
So, okay, so
but I would really think that in here something about signage for the downtown.
I think that's in here.
I,
It's definitely in. Where's the signage? It's definitely in. It's there, because we have it in multiple places. We talk about signage for the, letting people know where the parking is. And
No,
we
I
also
saw-
have traditional signage. We also do.
so this is under, the downtown part, the downtown area. I don't, I also agree that we need to make something else. Really one for these signs. Yeah, I would like to just have. I mean, I would just put it next to, want to add something next to that. We start to. Somewhere there in that section, obviously, that
Something,
signs.
how about we start the downtown facade program through North Community Development, expanding the boundaries of the current program for all nodes and target. With a special, with an additional focus on signage, appropriate signage or something.
Yeah, more appropriate for, something that will not be the instructor.
Consistent.
And
How about, so with a focus on signage more consistent with the historic area.
yes.
Okay.
And then, I think that was one of the. All I had. But. And I would just like to make one comment.
Joanne, over, yeah.
Is that, we're all in your situation, you're trying to do something positive, and I think. Criticize us is what, I just think that we are trying to do something in a positive manner and promote better things for our community. I just want you to know that.
We also, actually, what's the plan, was the public meeting.
Well, as we all know, I'm new here in town, here at the. If I got this straight. The OCD is approved tonight.
Could you speak up, Jim, the public can't hear
And then
you.
the, very approved.
That's the plan. It was approved.
So I haven't read it, but we will check. It's stated. But from what I understand, you understand, thank you, public things. Thank you, new advice.
Right, she'll make the amendments, once the motion is made, once we close the public hearing, so we can make a motion. Regarding the adoption of this plan. Hopefully with those. Additions and suggestions that are made in the public.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask, I just want to throw out the conservation. I think there should be a. talking about conservation somewhere. Someone was saying, Brown said, it's not very considerable. That's it, the reverse. The moderates of the new city here. Not mentioned, probably. Possibly. All with architecture, history. Things here. I think that's the city. So, I think either like, and red. It's said, not a little bit. All the work in it, I believe.
May I address that?
And,
I totally disagree. I think that the plan has very much a lot of discussion about conservation. I don't think that specifically language that was said, I didn't hear exactly to those words. We talk about flood hazard areas, we talk about sustainability, we talk about all different things that are a very wide breadth of all different things that have to do with conservation. It doesn't specifically just talk about open space. We talk about everything that you could do in sustainability and in electric fuel vehicles, all of that. So I think it's unfair without reading it to say that it would, you know, to tell you, say that we haven't addressed that because we've done a terrific job and very complimented very much on what we've done in this plan. So I think that someone seeing one thing the way they want to see it doesn't necessarily mean you throw the baby with the bathwater. Dan, do you want to like me to express?
Everywhere you see yellow color on this map is areas that are not targeted. It's a massive swath of the city. So we have, you have the business park area here, everywhere outside, on meadow. They're not, it's not targeted.
So having a conservation should be really big for us, right? But let me see, where did it? That area that was funding all this.
So let's talk about the development on the percentage pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have, there's. Stuff with this parcel. All the rivers. It includes the rivers, it includes all the streets, so that's a huge chunk that's.
We're gonna take out.
But we have to take that. So undeveloped land is not necessarily. If it's farmland, kind of categories. it's farmland.
Oh, so you didn't, okay, so
It's
that,
more,
and the open space is not undeveloped, in the farmland, it's not.
we have some open space that's protected and some open space that's not. It's a huge parcel, it's just
And
trees.
you do have,
I think they get the microphone.
you have a land use.
Yes, for the first time we have an X.
Here.
Well, in GIS.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's good. Okay, but that should show where everything is, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying. So we have a lot of land here. Screen color is forest, it's not protected. And
Okay,
then it's the hard green is either municipal recreation lands, the park, or protected open space. We've got a lot of parcels. in gender.
well, yeah, that's.
And they have two zeros. But this is all new.
New,
Last
right.
week,
Yeah.
but Norwich does not really have. And conservancy.
So they're starting to get to this here.
They have section here, section here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
any other questions or comments from members of the commission or members of the public who are here before the public hearing? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion? Motion. And second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion. So the public hearing is now closed. If, a member of the commission must make a motion regarding the plan for conservation and development 2023.
Make a motion to accept the draft. Notes.
Dated August 7th.
Dated August 7th. The effective date of the consideration of.
You're comfortable with it, she's
Yeah, so these comments, yeah, it's really excellent. Conservation Commission and. Signage.
It's one more, this stuff's, but adding candidates for future downtown.
Yeah.
Regarding the park. Yep.
Amendments as discussed. So we have a motion to that. So any other discussion at this point? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion is put forth. Aye. No opposition, before the abstaining, so the draft plan dated August 7th. Is adopted with the notation that the amendment of the stuff will be made. The wording change. Right.
Thank you very, very much for that.
Do you have any other business tonight?
What else? Just gonna take that.
So, there being none, I would entertain a motion to
I'll make that motion.
motion to adjourn. Second. Come on, the table motion, all in favor? Aye.